Hello and welcome to my channel. I hope you enjoy this story. I'm going to try and upload a new story each day. The Shattered Sanctum, Ruins of Quarr Abbey. The Isle of Wight, with its rolling hills and picturesque coastlines, had always been a haven for adventurers. The locals whispered of a place untouched by time and tainted by darkness, the ruins of Quarr Abbey. Intrigued by tales of the ancient monastery, Holly Arnold and her friends decided to explore it, seeking both refuge and a thrill. The journey to the abbey was shrouded in an eerie mist, as if the island itself conspired to keep its secrets hidden. Holly, a seasoned adventurer with a knack for uncovering hidden truths, led the group. Her companions, Sean, an enthusiastic historian, Lisa, a skeptical journalist, and James, an ever-curious photographer, followed closely behind. Upon reaching the abbey, they found it overgrown and desolate, the stone walls standing defiantly against the passage of time. Ivy clung to the ancient structure, and the air was thick with an unsettling stillness. Holly pushed open the heavy wooden doors, and they entered, their footsteps echoing through the vast, empty halls. As dusk settled, they set up camp in what seemed to be the main hall. The fading light cast long shadows, transforming the abbey's interior into a maze of darkness and half-seen shapes. Sean, ever the enthusiast, began to recount the abbey's history. He spoke of monks who once lived there, devoted to their faith but driven by a more sinister purpose. This place was rumored to be a site of dark rituals, Sean said. The monks worshipped something far older and darker than what they claimed. Sacrifices were made, and strange chants were heard echoing through the walls at night. Every old building has ghost stories. It's probably just folklore, Holly, however. The air seemed to grow colder, and an oppressive silence enveloped them. They decided to explore further before the night fully took hold. They discovered a narrow staircase leading down to the crypts. Armed with flashlights, they descended into the bowels of the abbey. The walls were lined with alcoves, each holding crumbling skeletons draped in tattered robes. At the far end of the crypt, they found a heavy iron door slightly ajar. Holly pushed it open, revealing a small chamber filled with ancient manuscripts and strange symbols etched into the stone floor. James eagerly snapped photos while Lisa examined the texts. Holly's eyes were drawn to a peculiar symbol, a circle with jagged lines radiating from it, much like the sun but twisted and wrong. Sean studied the manuscripts, his face growing pale. These describe rituals to summon entities from beyond our world. The monks believed they could control these beings, using them to gain knowledge and power. A sudden, in the pitch blackness, they heard a whisper, guttural voice speaking in an ancient tongue. Panic set in as they fumbled to relight their torches. When they finally succeeded, they found themselves surrounded by shadowy figures, their eyes glowing with malevolent intent. The group backed away, retreating up the stairs. The figures followed, their presence growing more tangible and oppressive with each step. They reached the main hall, only to find the doors they had entered through now sealed shut. Desperation set in. Holly grabbed a torch, swinging it wildly to keep the shadows at bay. Sean frantically flipped through the manuscripts, searching for a way to banish the entities. Lisa and James barricaded the doors, but it was clear they were fighting a losing battle. In the midst of the chaos, Holly remembered the symbol she had seen. Sean, the symbol, the one that looked like a twisted sun, what does it mean? It's a binding sigil. If we can recreate it, we might be able to trap the entities. Using the last remnants of their courage, they cleared a space on the floor and began to draw the symbol. The shadows grew more aggressive, their whispers turning into unearthly wails. As they completed the symbol, the air grew heavy and the shadows recoiled. Holly stood in the center, chanting the words Sean dictated from the manuscripts. The room filled with a blinding light, and a deafening silence followed. When the light faded, the shadows were gone. The abbey was still and silent once more. The group, battered and exhausted, stumbled out into the cool night air. They had survived, but the experience had left its Sean. As they made their way back to civilization, Holly couldn't shake the feeling that they had only just scratched the surface of the abbey's dark secrets. The symbol had worked, but the darkness was still there, lurking, waiting for the next group of unsuspecting adventurers. The ruins of Quarr Abbey stood silent and foreboding, a monument to forgotten horrors and the shadows that still dwelled within its ancient walls. The group decided to return to the mainland, but the journey back was slow and tense. Holly couldn't escape the nagging sensation that something had followed them. She kept glancing over her shoulder, feeling the weight of unseen eyes. Sean, Lisa, and James were similarly subdued, each lost in their thoughts, processing the terror they had faced. Once home, they attempted to resume their normal lives, but the events at Quarr Abbey haunted them. Holly spent hours researching ancient texts and symbols, determined to understand the dark forces they had encountered. Sean's enthusiasm for history was replaced with a grim determination to uncover the truth about the monastery. Lisa wrote a detailed article about their experience, but no publication would touch it, dismissing it as sensationalist fiction. James developed an obsession with the photographs he had taken, convinced that they held clues to the entity's nature. Days turned into weeks, and the group began to drift apart, their shared trauma driving a wedge between them. Holly, however, refused to let the darkness win. She reached out to experts in ancient religions and occult practices, seeking answers and allies. Her inquiries led her to Dr. Evelyn Crowley, an enigmatic scholar with a reputation for delving into forbidden knowledge. Dr. Crowley was intrigued by Holly's story and agreed to help. She believed the entities they had encountered were remnants of an ancient cult that predated the Abbey itself. The cult had worshipped primordial beings, performing rituals to summon and bind these dark forces. The symbol Holly had used was indeed a binding sigil, one that temporarily trapped the entities but did not destroy them. It merely delayed their return. The Abbey remains a focal point of their power. If left unchecked, they will break free and spread their influence. Holly knew she had to return to Quarr Abbey, but this time she contacted Sean, Lisa, and James, explaining the gravity of the situation. Reluctantly, they agreed to join her, driven by a mix of fear and a desire to put their demons to rest. They arrived at the Isle of Wight under the cover of darkness, their return to the Abbey shone by an uneasy silence. The air was thick with foreboding, and the ruins seemed more oppressive than before. Dr. Crowley joined them, bringing with her ancient texts, protective charms, and a steely resolve. The group entered the Abbey, their flashlights cutting through the darkness. Dr. Crowley led them back to the crypt, where the iron door now stood firmly closed. She placed her hand on the cold metal, muttering an incantation. The door creaked open, revealing the chamber beyond. The symbols on the floor were still faintly visible, but the air was thick with a palpable malevolence. Dr. Crowley directed them to set up protective wards around the room while she prepared a ritual to permanently banish the entities. Holly and her friends worked quickly, their every movement watched by unseen eyes. As Dr. Crowley began the ritual, the shadows in the room seemed to come alive. Whispers filled the air, growing louder and more insistent. Holly felt the cold hand brush against her arm, and she shuddered. The entities were fighting back, their presence growing stronger with each passing moment. Dr. Crowley's voice rose above the cacophony, chanting in an ancient tongue. The symbols on the floor glowed with an ethereal light, and the shadows recoiled. Holly, Sean, Lisa, and James joined hands, forming a circle around Dr. Crowley, lending their strength to the ritual. The air crackled with energy, and a blinding light filled the chamber. The whispers turned to screams, and the shadows writhed in agony. Dr. Crowley raised her arms, her voice reaching a crescendo. With a final, powerful incantation, the light exploded outward, banishing the darkness. When the light faded, the room was still and silent. The oppressive weight that had hung over the Abbey was gone, replaced by a sense of peace. The group stood in stunned silence, their hearts pounding. Dr. Crowley smiled, her face etched with relief. "It's done. The entities are gone, and their power is broken." Holly and her friends exchanged glances. They had faced the darkness and emerged victorious, their bond forged in the fires of terror and triumph. As they left Quarr Abbey for the final time, Holly felt a sense of closure. The Abbey's dark secrets had been laid to rest, and the island's whispers would no longer hold fear. The ruins stood silent and empty, a testament to the resilience of those who dared to confront the shadows and the Sanctum's final liberation from its sinister past. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed this story. Please don't forget to like, and even better, like and subscribe. Thank you very much, and I hope you have had or have a great day.